Hey, how's it shine? Dr. Allen here. Today I'm going to show you how to wear contact lenses safely and easily, even if this is your first time. We'll show you how to check if the contact lens is inside out or not. We'll show you how to hold the eyelids properly so that you can get it in, and I'll share some pro tips and answer some frequently asked questions toward the end. So let's begin. Now, before we get too far into it, I just want to say it is best to first have a contact lens and removal insertion training course at your local eye clinic or optical store. That way you get in-person training in case you need to troubleshoot some difficulties you're having with, or you happen to have poked your eye in the process. Then you have a professional right then and there to help you out. But of course, if you need some extra help, that's why we're here, and feel free to rewatch this video as needed. Now, step number one, we need to wash our hands really well. Also cleaning our eyelids and eyelashes, because we're going to be touching our eyelids here, and we don't want to introduce anything, and we want to reduce our chance of infection. To clean the eyelids, I personally like using eyelid wipes here, and I'll list some of my favorites in the description, but of course, always ask your local eye doctor what they think is best for you. Also, a bonus tip here is that when you dry your hands, use a lint-free towel, something that's not going to leave lint on the surface of your fingers, which can get on the contact lens and get in the eye. Just a good thing to think about. Now, step number two is we need to check and verify our contact lenses. This is important because we don't want to switch up our prescription for our right eye with our left eye and vice versa. Since I am right-handed, I usually always start with my right eye, and I like to separate my right contact lens on the right side of where I'm working and the left one on the left side. Just makes it a little easier. Now, step number three is we need to prep the contact lens for insertion. We first need to open the blister packs, and usually contact lenses come now in these little blister packs here. We just pull back the foil, and then using the padding of your finger, simply touch the contact lens, and it should pull up pretty easily. Then use your opposite hand to flip the lens back around and rest it on your pointer finger. Try not to touch the lens with your fingernails in this process because you could potentially damage the lens. If you are somebody with long fingernails, then I will share some bonus tips toward the end of the video. Step number four now is to inspect the lens for any defects or if perhaps there's lint or something on the lens. It's possible for some contact lenses to tear or get little chips in the side. So you want to make sure you don't put a damaged lens in the eye because it could scratch and hurt the eye. If the lens happens to look dirty for some reason, then make sure to rinse the lens with a multi-purpose contact lens solution. Now, the next step is really important. We need to make sure that this lens is not inside out. To do this, I like to just look at the lens from the side and make sure that the edges come upward like this image here. If you look at it and it seems like the edges kind of flange going outward, then that is likely inside out. Another way to test for this is something called the taco test, and this is where you take the lens and fold it in on itself. If the edges fold in sort of like a taco, then that would be the correct way and the lens is set in the right way to put in. But if the edges flange kind of outward and have kind of a kissing shape, then that means it's inside out. Let me know in the comments which way works best for you. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to apply this lens onto the eye. First, a lot of beginners do find success using some sort of a mirror, whether it be standing upright like this, or some people find it easier to set it down on the counter. That way they're able to look down while they're putting in the lens. And just due to gravity, the lens stays on the finger a bit easier and they have more success with it. Give each a try, see what works well for you. Now, a huge secret to success of getting these lenses in easily is to hold the eyelids. To do this, I use the hand that's not holding the contact lens. I reach over, you hold that top eyelid right along the margin of the eyelashes, and you hold that tightly. That'll prevent you from blinking and preventing that lens from getting in the eye. I then use the middle finger of the hand that has the lens, and you hold that eyelid down, and then you just bring the contact lens right to the surface, and then blink. And it came out, and now it's on. Now, I know I made that look easy, but I've been doing this for close to 20-some years. A lot of people do find it a little unnerving just because this contact lens and something is coming close to the eye, and it's just our natural reaction to want to blink it out. What's great though is the contact lens acts kind of like a shield, and it protects the eye, and it should never hurt or feel irritated. But if this is your first time, do not feel discouraged if you accidentally blink it out. This happens to a lot of people. If you do drop the lens or blink it out, then just rinse it quickly with some multi-purpose solution and then try again. I'll now demonstrate it again, but this time doing it on my other eye. I am very much right-handed, so I usually just stick doing the same procedure with my left and right hand. However, it is best etiquette to switch and do it the opposite way. So again, I took out the contact lens and I verified it doesn't have any chips and it's set the correct way. So now I'm going to hold the upper eyelid with my hand over here without the lens. I'm going to hold down the lower eyelid with the hand that has the lens in it. And just touch it to the eye, and it's on. I will mention that when you first wear the contact lenses, do not be surprised if your vision is not perfectly 20/20 or super clear right away. Sometimes it takes a few blinks and even up to a minute or two for the lens to settle in the right place, and that will give you better vision. So make sure to just give it a moment to focus in. And just know that most people do not get this right away on their first try, and if you need to do it multiple times and your eyes get a little red and irritated, that's okay. Just take a break, use some re-wetting drops, and then of course, talk to your local clinic if you need some additional help. But otherwise, congrats, you got your lenses in. Okay, now for some bonus tips and some frequently asked questions. The first question is, what do you do if the lens just won't come off your finger and stick to the eye? Some contact lenses just seem to have a hard time coming off and attaching to the corneal surface. So to help with this, first I like to have people's fingers bone dry. Make sure that the hand is very much dry and not even just a little bit damp, because I find that the lenses just come off a little easier. Another thing is you can try to make sure that that lens is just barely resting on the surface of that finger. That way it's less likely to attach to the finger with water tension. Otherwise, be sure to ask your local clinic what they think could help you, or perhaps just switching to a different contact lens that has a better modulus, which is kind of the stiff integrity or shape holding of the lens, and that may make it easier. Question number 2 is, what do you do if you just can't stop blinking and the lens just won't go in? Well, first, I would say make sure you are holding the eyelids very firmly and doing that proper step. But second, and I learned this in fact from somebody who commented on a previous video I did on the subject, is to get closer to the mirror. For some reason, getting closer to the mirror seems to maybe change your perception and allows people to not kind of freak out and try to, bat out the lens coming closer to the eye. This is just a tip that some people have found helpful. Question 3 is, what do you do if you drop the lens, such as on the counter or even on something like the bathroom floor? In this case, you definitely want to rinse and clean that lens. Using a multi-purpose contact lens solution, you can just rinse the lens really well, maybe clean it with the palm of your hand and your finger, and then, again, once it's ready, reinsert. I'll admit that sometimes finding a lost contact lens on the floor or somewhere you might have dropped it can be a challenge. But that's exactly why some contact lenses are made with a small visible tint so that you can find it a little bit easier. But yes, always make sure you clean those lenses. And then the final question is, what about long fingernails? This can be a challenge. So first, of course, cutting the fingernails is an option. I had one patient who purposefully left one fingernail shorter while they wore long fingernails on the others, just so that they could safely put in their contacts. But there are also some kind of alternatives to putting in the lenses. Now this can be a little bit more challenging, but a method that can work is placing the lens further down and a little on the side of the finger that you're going to be putting the lens in with. You still hold the eyelids in a similar way, but then you touch the lens to the eye, but you have to come at it from a little bit of an angle and from the side, rather than using the finger pad directly. But as always, if you're having challenges, talk to your eye clinic what they think is best for you and how they can help. So that there is how to put contact lenses on first time. But now, of course, we have to help you take them out, so that is the next video. To check that out, just click or tap right over here. Otherwise, thanks so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.